Part of what we're talking about today, angels and ancestors watching over us. It is that time of year. We had Halloween, and November 1st and November 2nd are in the Catholic tradition, All Saints' Day, and then All Souls' Day, because apparently not all souls are saints. I think they are. But All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, Dia de los Muertos in the Mexican culture, it is a time, one, where we are in tune with nature, or that's where it came from. This time is about halfway between the autumnal equinox and the winter solstice. So days are getting noticeably shorter and shorter and shorter. The light is leaving and the dark is coming. And if you can only imagine what it was like for people whose only light was a fire, when it was dark outside, that having only a few hours a day of light and the rest of the time in darkness could feel dark indeed and scary. And so they did all kinds of things. A lot of the traditions that are used at Halloween now and all of the stuff this time of year comes from those harvest festivals and this sort of superstition about how can we convince the light to come back. How can we be okay through the dark, and how can we convince the light to come back? So there is that connection to the seasons. There's that connection to the earth. And there is that connection to our ancestors. There's that connection to those who have gone before, both those that we have lost just recently. And remember that our ancestors are not just our blood relatives. Our ancestors are all of those who have gone before. All of those who have gone before. There's a collective unconscious that the human race has been adding to over and over and over again. And it shows up in such beautiful ways sometimes. There is a phenomenon that when a brand new discovery, what seems like a breakthrough discovery is made in the world, that it might be made in Western Europe. And then we find out later that someone had a similar discovery at almost the same time in the Polynesian Islands, and someone had a similar discovery at almost the same time in the New World. So there is a tipping point when our collective knowledge, our collective wisdom reaches a point where it's time to break through to the next thing, whatever that is. And we see it in scientific discoveries, but it gives me a lot of hope when we talk about it from the point of view of spiritual awakening, right? When enough of us are spiritually awake, that will bring the rest of us along. We didn't all have to make up the light bulb, right? Tesla, Edison, and several other people around the planet all kind of came up with that same idea at the same time. And we got to follow along. We got to learn about it afterward. Well, what if your job, by virtue of being awake enough to want to belong to a community like this, a community where we say divine love is the highest, what if being awake enough to do that puts you on the leading edge that will lead to the tipping point of humanity being awake enough, aware enough of that one love that we are, the oneness that we share, the very fact that I cannot do anything to you without also doing that to me, because we are one. This is what we're working in, and I know we see lots of things in the world right now that seem counter to that, which makes it all the more incumbent upon those of us who believe in divine love, who believe in oneness, to practice that oneness in every way that we can, every day of our lives, so that we can reach that tipping point. So Kay's going to sing a song later called Standing on the Shoulders. It's one of my favorite Harold Payne songs. But it's talking about we're standing on the shoulders of everyone who's gone before. Of everyone who's gone before. We're standing on the shoulders of Jesus. We're standing on the shoulders of Gandhi and Martin Luther King. We're standing on the shoulders of I'm standing on the shoulders of my grandmother and the things she taught me. You're standing on the shoulders of the people that came before you. And I'm not blood related to any of my relatives except Aaron. So, and yet, those are my ancestors. They're the ones that taught me, that helped me be who I am today. Plus, I'm sure I have blood ancestors that, when I first wrote that song, it came from, just share the story real quick. I was in seminary, and my Native American instructor, we were talking about ancestor worship religions and honoring the ancestors. I raised my hand and said, "What if you don't know who your ancestors are?" And he looked me right in the eye and he said, "They know who you are." I was like, "Oh, right." So I count on the fact that I have ancestors, even though I don't know who they are. I have blood ancestors too that have also brought me to be who I am today. And we lose when we forget. We lose when we forget our human ancestors. We lose when we forget that we are connected to everyone who has ever come before us in time. We lose when we think it's just us. We lose our sense of oneness. When we're not one with the past, then how can we be one with the present? How can we know that? So there are seasons, there are tides, and this is a time, this time of year, traditionally to start remembering our connection not only to Mother Earth and everything that's happening on the earth, but our connection to all who have gone before. So this was the time of year that was thought, as the darkness comes, that the veil between the living and the dead gets thinner and thinner. That's the idea, right? And so that was approached in two ways. One, this is a really scary thing. What if the dead come back and people started putting on disguises and wearing their clothes inside out and pulling pranks and tricks to try to trick the fairies into not kidnapping them and taking them to the other world. So a fear response, right, to the thinning of the veil. There's also the opposite response to the thinning of the veil. There is, the Irish set it, what do they call it, a dumb dinner, that they set out plates for all of the people who are no longer here and said, welcome. That's what Dia de los Muertos is, that we set out a plate, basically. We go and visit the dead. We celebrate the dead. And this is a time of year when we can do that, even as we are sort of cozying into our winter selves and getting, what's the word I'm looking for? And getting more into, I don't know about y'all, maybe you come alive in summer. I come alive this time of year. I get in touch with a deeper part of myself. There's something about the darkness coming in. It seems like there's more time to just to go within, to spend some time within my own heart and within my own family, within my own, small space, instead of out in the world running and running and running. So, the other thing that happened that the ancients did was, this was a time, and there were several times throughout the year, but this was a time when everybody kind of started over. They let their home fires die, and they created a communal fire. The Druids created a communal fire from a spinning wheel, which represented the sun, and then everybody took some fire from that central fire and relit their home hearths from it. To me, that's a beautiful metaphor for what we try to do on Sunday mornings, that we try to relight our home hearths by coming here and connecting with each other, by finding that fire, that passion, that desire to live a life of understanding our oneness, coming together in community and doing that, and then taking that back out into the world, taking it back into our homes. So, the feasts this time of year start to happen because it's also the harvest time. It's the time when the dark is coming, but it's also the time when we've pulled all the plants, we've settled in, and so we have some big feasts. We pull the cattle from their summer pastures, we bring them in. We maybe sacrifice one for the community. And sacrifice meat was not wasted meat. Sacrifice was dedicated and eaten by the community. That's what that meant. So What really happened is that the Christian religion, Catholicism, which was the only Christian religion for many hundreds of years, they couldn't stop the pagans from doing the fire festival. Just couldn't keep them from feasting and doing this whole fire thing. So they took a holiday that had been in May, All Saints' Day, and they moved it to this time of year. Well, if you're going to light a fire, let's celebrate the saints with it. Let's celebrate the souls of the people who are departed with it. Another thing I want to say about this collective unconscious, Ken Wilber talks about this a lot. He's an amazing philosopher in America today. But that it's not about that as we evolve, that we put away the old things. That's why we still practice some of these ancient traditions. It's not about saying, well, we're better than that now, we know better, put it away. It's about incorporating and integrating all along. As we evolve, we're going up a spiral, you know? It looks like we're going in circles, but we're lifting ever so slightly with each circle. Isn't that a beautiful way to think of it? When you feel like you're going around in circles, maybe you're just a molecule higher with each circle that you go. But you're not letting go of everything that's below, you're integrating it. You're bringing it into yourself. So all of this is that opportunity to get in touch with nature. It's that opportunity to celebrate the ancestors, all of the ancestors way back. And it's also an opportunity to allow ourselves to grieve what we've lost recently or ever. I mean, I don't know about you, but griefs, they become less central to our lives over time, perhaps. But whenever we allow that the thought of the loss, the missing of the person who is no longer with us in form, and to allow ourselves to commune with that person in spirit, then that grief is very, very present for us. So this is an opportunity to do that, because avoiding grief doesn't work. Welcoming it in is what works, is what allows us to move on. Not move on without the person who is gone, but move on with a more and more heartfelt and solid memory of the person who is gone. And if we're very, very, I don't want to say the word lucky, if we're very, very intentional and open about it, we will find that the relationship that we shared in life, the true relationship, not the relationship between body and body, form and form, but the true relationship of the heart, does not go away with death. And so we set the table. We set the table with an extra plate and we invite them in. Because death is considered by the Buddhists to be our greatest teacher. There is a concept called the bardo, which is the place that they call between one life and another. And there's this theory that maybe this is the bardo, that maybe our life was before we're born and our life continues after we're born, and this is just the space in between where we're doing all this human stuff for a while, where we've taken form and we're doing a different. Isn't that kind of a cool way to think about it? This idea of death possibly being our best teacher, and in Western culture we've sterilized it, we've forgotten it, we've tried to put it under wraps, we try to pretend it's not there, we say things to each other like, aren't you over that yet? It's been a year. Like there's a timing on grief. Are you still talking about that? Is that still uppermost in your mind? Well, if it is, it is. And that's the beauty about keeping our hearts open. The other thing about not sterilizing death is, and probably the reason, the biggest reason that we try to sterilize death, that we try to put it away, that we try to not talk about it, that we try to protect children from it. It's a fact of life. It happens to everybody. But don't let the kids know about it. Guess what? They're going to learn. We do all this stuff to sterilize it because we are afraid of thinking about our own deaths. And it is said by many that facing your own death, facing your own mortality, that I won't be here forever, can be one of the greatest lessons of life. And by welcoming in form, we are helping ourselves to be comfortable with that idea that at some point we will no longer be here in form, but that doesn't mean that we will no longer be here. How we live, generally, is how we die. And so if we live in fear, if we live in forgetfulness, if we live in, I don't want to think about that, if we live in pushing things away, if we live in not experiencing our emotions, then chances are we will die that way. And I don't think many of us want to die that way. We want to die with some ease, with some peace. And so if you want to die with peace, we begin to live with peace. And one of the ways to do that at this time of year is to remember to invite those in. I believe that the ones who are no longer with us in form are in peace somewhere. And so we invite them in. We say, sit down, pull up a chair, be with us, and we're willing to be with them. Because if we live in fear and jealousy and self-pity and self-loathing and whining, how is that going to continue? Pema Chodron says that our propensity, if you want to know what the future is, look at what's happening now, because that's your propensity. So if you want the future to be different from the present, you have to change your present propensity. Do you want to be able to live in trust, in patience, in peace, centered, in self-love, in consideration and compassion for self and for others? Do you want to be able to live in joy? Then it's not tomorrow. It's today. It's today. Invite it in. And so the lessons that we get from these days of celebration, these days of feasting, these days of looking toward the light going away and praying that it comes back, these days of opening, of the veil thinning and opening our hearts to those who have gone before, of connecting to our ancestors, teach us to remember to celebrate life, to be aware of the natural world, to be aware of the people in our lives, to be aware of how much it hurts to lose those that we have lost in form, and so to be aware to cherish those that we still have in form, rather than to take them for granted. The outside harvest, the preparation for winter, is a metaphor for the preparation we can do within ourselves. Where are you going? Right? As it gets darker and darker, how are you living? How do you want to live? What have you done to prepare yourself to be able to live that way? And then also relationally, between, outside, within, and between, relationally, how do you want to connect with community? Do you want to light a central fire and take it home with you when you leave? The community relights our fires. And our prayerful intentions. You know, the ancients prayerfully went, please, 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 please let the light come again. And they did all kinds of things to try to make sure that they were able to please God or the gods so that the light wasn't taken away permanently. Now we know that the light is coming back. So where do we put our prayerful intention? We put our prayerful intention toward choosing how do we want this season to be for us. I want to read you a poem, if I can find it. It's called The Last. The last trip out was the last trip. Maybe today is my last day of something I won't realize until it's gone. When doors close, it is too late to go back except in memory, and we decide what we remember. The melancholy of what we lost, or the joy of what we had. Even closed doors let light through at the edges. What do I remember? The slamming of the door? Or the radiant glow from the cracks? The burning of a bridge, or the miracle of having been suspended above the abyss, even momentarily? The beautiful did happen. Connection was made. The experience is now mine forever. Thank you. Just going to take some of those ideas into meditation for a moment. So take a deep breath, if you will. We are going to have a ceremony after the service today where we honor those we have lost, and you are invited to stay after and participate, but not do what you want to do. Not required, but invited. But for now in this meditation, if you would just take a deep breath. And think about these words, All Souls Day. All souls who have ever been or will ever be. All souls living now, including yours. We celebrate that the soul fires continue to burn. We allow ourselves to be lit up from within by our own very soul. And as we are lit from within, feeling the warmth, of that communal love, the warmth of that love that emanates from every soul that has ever been, as we allow ourselves to relax into that, to return, if you will, to the land of your soul, which doesn't mean leaving your body, it only means setting your intention. And right here, right now, from this warm place, I invite you to open your heart, and without necessarily directing it with your mind, just say these words internally. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. From this place of not putting anyone out of your heart, present, past, or future, perhaps you might see that some people from the past show up. If they come to mind, simply make a space. You don't have to do anything. Simply say, you're welcome here. And perhaps take a moment to reflect on all you are and all you have, and how all of it came from the divine, comes from the divine, through all of those who have gone before. And say thank you. Thank you for the DNA that contributed to this strong body. Thank you for the intelligence that allows us to know and learn and love. Thank you for the open hearts that have taught us that it is safe to open our own hearts. Thank you for those who took hard steps, perhaps relieved us from having to take those steps. Thank you that we have the ability to take steps now that will ease the way for those who come after us. Not our literal children, but our spiritual children, everyone who comes after us. Perhaps say to them, you are welcome here. And make a decision in this moment to meet whatever has been and whatever comes with as much love as we can muster. Knowing that the love we feel today, the relationships we share today, the life that we live today was given to us by those who came before, and the love that we show, the love that we give, the life that we live will welcome the next lives in their love. And none of it is separate. We are all one. We are all one with all. And as we leave this meditation, I invite you to keep that heart open wide. As wide as you can. And as you go through your day and your week, to remember to say welcome and thank you to all of the souls you have met or will meet, or who have gone before that you will never know about. Connection did happen. Now it's up to us what we do with it. As for me and my house, to paraphrase, I will serve love. May we all serve love. And so it is.